Autism Homeschool Mom here, Z. So we had a busy day so far, and I wanted to give a brief update about um, everything me and my little man has been doing. So he had his well child checkup a few days ago after he turned 10. So I always take my son to the pediatrician, both my sons, when my eldest was this age. He went through a growth spurt, 4 inches in 1 year and gained 20 pounds. So my son is 10, 96 pounds, and 4 foot 11. Really husky. Um, yeah, that's my Thor right here. He's sitting right here with me, and I'm just so proud of him. He did so well. He received two vaccinations in the appointment. One was tetanus, and one was the second and the last round of the Gardasil HPV vaccine. So I was happy for that. And normally I would have to hold him down or coax him, but he just sat there on the exam table, let the LPN give him the vaccinations, one in each arm, and I was just like, we made it. Now, a few years ago, it was rough. It would take me and two nurses and the person that was doing the vaccination to give him the vaccinations in his thighs. So then today, my son had a routine appointment with his urologist. So when I was pregnant with him, I was 8 months pregnant, and I had a lot of complications in my pregnancy. I learned that because I had to get a lot of ultrasounds, I learned in his left kidney, it didn't drain properly. It had a lot of fluids in it, and the doctors diagnosed him with something called hydronephrosis. So we had been seeing a urologist, this urologist that we saw today, since he was 4 days old. And here, my little man is 10, and we have to follow with him every so often. So he was supposed to do rounds of ultrasounds on that kidney, compared the left to the right. But the ultrasound tech didn't come to work, so we have to come back another time, or do a telehealth appointment actually, and get ultrasounds done at the local children's hospital, which I'm okay with because he's been going to the children's hospital for a long time. So when my son was 13 months, because the kidney gotten worse, he had to receive surgery by the same urologist. And so he was 13 months old exactly. That was rough. When I tell you that my anxiety was through the roof, I've never received surgery. Neither did my eldest son. You know what I'm saying? So for me to take him to the hospital, he had to fast for 24 hours. That's hard for a 13-month-old. No, no bottle, no anything. It was hard. Then he healed. We were discharged the following day. So the surgery was on like a Wednesday. He was discharged like a Thursday. Just how they do it. And he wasn't walking at the time. I didn't know he had autism, but I knew my son was delayed. So the pain threshold was high. Then we had to go back to the hospital a month after the surgery because the doctor had put in a stent. So they had to put him back under to remove the stent, and was discharged the following day again. It was just, when I tell you how life works, how time works, the child that I have now wasn't a child that I received then, is what I'm trying to say. My baby boy has been through hell and back, round trip, from the surgery, from being pricked and prod, and lots of procedures, lots of radiology imaging, and the type that you have to have an IV put in your arm, and they're doing all these very invasive imaging. For him being diagnosed the following year, for he being in therapies. At the time, he's doing 3 therapies: physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech, since 2.5. Now he just received speech and OT. So right now we're parked waiting for OT to start, which starts in 10 minutes. So I got to get out the car. And then he has speech when OT ends. So we have 2 therapies today. So I've been ripping and running since like 6 o'clock this morning, making breakfast, getting ready to make sure that we make it to the appointment on time, all of those good things. So I just said this, I wanted to make this video for parents that might be in similar circumstances that I am in, or I was. If you're a single parent, I understand where you're coming from. If you have limited resources, limited money, I understand where you're coming from. I literally was thinking to myself, this particular pediatric urology place is in Sandy Springs. You have to pay for parking. I remember when little man was maybe 1, between 1, under the age of 2. I didn't have money to afford for parking at this parking deck. where the plaza is to the doctor's office, the medical plaza. And I was so broke, you all, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I was so broke that I had to park my car in a public park, and I had to walk a half a mile with him in the stroller. And when I got to the appointment, I'm drenched in sweat, and he's hot. He's in a stroller, of course. I wasn't trying to hold him and have him walk. It was a lot. And I got there and I was like, I'm sorry if I'm late, but I just couldn't pay. I couldn't afford to pay for the paid parking. And I parked my car a half a mile the opposite direction at the public park. And there was other like plazas I could have parked at, but if you go in those plazas, you see signs everywhere. If you're not going into those businesses, you can get your car booted or towed. And I couldn't afford that either. So I chose the option that I know that it was logical for me, so I didn't get my car booted or towed or like a citation, right? When I tell you I am in a much better headspace, I'm in a much better financial space, I'm in a much better emotional space than I was 9.5, 10 years ago. And I know God has delivered us. I'm not a preachy person, but I'm telling you, spiritual wise, continue to pray, continue to do the hard work, continue to do everything you can do for you and your child. And as a single parent, when I tell you God listens, God delivers, that's the truth. That's the truth. I am a true testament to that, right? Yeah, I was trying to think of what else I wanted to say in this video. I know people have messaged me before. They asked me personal things like, since you're a single parent, you're homeschooling, how are you able to afford to do so? I really can't answer that question like that. I ask to answer it all the time on my lives. I am on a fixed income, right? I am a veteran. I rely on that. And that's the truth. There's no other, there's no other streams. I wish. I am growing my content here on, TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. I do UGC content, but it's rare. Like I do it, but then you have to wait for people to want to pay you. So those are the things that I've come up with to try to support myself. I did have an Etsy. I shut down my Etsy last year when people were complaining about, they wanted to get either free, like more free, like they wanted to get free merchandise or they wanted a refund. And I use Printify for everything. And that's a whole nother video, but I no longer run an Etsy account, Etsy shop. And I did fairly well with it. I made like $800 last year. And I was like, it's not even worth the complaints and, me dealing with people that wanted certain things. When I say, hey, I'm working with a third party print company, it's being shipped directly to you. I have not in control of it. I can take your voices concerns, but I can't send you more things because that's me. I'm paying for it, and I'm small business. I literally had just started my Etsy last April when I had bought like a Cricut machine, but at that time I wasn't making from the stuff from Cricut. It was just third party everything. I designed it myself on my iPad using Canva with my own imagination, my own creations, but everything was via Printify and upload those images from Canva to Printify and then straight to Etsy. And I was getting inundated with a whole bunch of complaints and people wanted certain things. I was like, it's not even worth it. And last thing I'm gonna say about the Etsy, when I was making a lot of Divine Nine merchandise, the Greek merchandise, because my son's he's a Phi Beta Sigma frat member, people were contacting Etsy about my account and saying that I had no business selling Divine Nine merch if I didn't have trademarking or logo stuff. And I was like, it's not even worth it. It's not worth it. I try to buy trademarks and stuff. Those cost several thousand, between $5,000 and $9,000. As someone that's up and coming, someone that's on a fixed income, that have no means to get a business loan or anything like that, it was a lot. So I made this video to say, don't give up. If there's a will, there's a way. Please cultivate and do all the things you can do for your children, your child, your special needs child. My son's his last year in school. My 22-year-old, he's about to graduate at the end of this year. When I tell you there's a will, there's a way. I literally cried every day, every week sometimes, when I'm thinking about how I'm going to be able to afford something, how I'm going to be able to do something, how I'm going to be able to just be somewhere and make it happen for me and my children. So that's all I wanted to say. So thanks.